Hello everyone, today I wanted to share my garden with you. So this is my veg patch which is at the bottom of my garden and it is currently full of weeds. So the plan is to get it all planted up for the summer. So first of all I've gone through and used my fork to get rid of all the weeds. I had already composted it earlier in the season, but it is again covered in weeds. So I'm doing my best to get rid of all of the weeds and any stains, and then I'm raking it over, just trying to get the soil as fine as possible and removing any weeds. And this is my compost bin. So we put all of our vegetable and fruit peelings in this compost bin, with also lots of cardboard and some grass clippings. So I make all of my own compost. You can see it's full of lots of wriggly worms and it is really lovely compost. So what I do is I get several bucketfuls of my compost and I put it onto my veg patch, and then I just go through and rake it into the soil just to make the soil as fine as possible. So I like to plant all of my own seeds rather than buy plants. So here in my shed I have got my seed trays which are in front of a sunny window, and I'm just planting up some cucumbers in this pot. These trays are not recyclable, so I try to reuse them as much as possible. I'm just poking them into the soil to make sure that the seeds are covered in compost. I just write myself a little tag. Again, I'm reusing these from last year, and then placing them into my seed trays. Next I am planting some French beans. Never planted these before, so again I'm planting these in seed trays next to a bright window. So I'm just planting them and putting 2 per pot or per section, and just poking them down into the soil, and again giving them a little label. So I'm just watering them now, and I put a propagator lid over the top whilst they germinate. Now I am actually going to use an old plastic bucket, and I've drilled some holes in the bottom for drainage. I'm putting in some ripped up cardboard into the bottom just to fill up some of the space, but also to use as drainage. And then I'm filling it up with a mixture of my own compost and also some compost which I've bought in bags, and I mix that together and fill my bucket. I'm just using that to plant some carrots. This actually didn't work, the seeds didn't germinate, and I ended up using it for planting out my cucumbers. Here I am just starting to plant some seeds outside, so I have got a little label at the end of each row. I make a trench and plant my seeds in rows, and then I can clearly see that I can weed in between if any weeds grow up in between my rows. I also utilise my windowsill inside my kitchen, so I'm just growing some rocket in pots so that I've got some for salads, and I've also planted some flower seeds and vegetable seeds, and I use my windowsill propagator that I got from Aldi to grow my seeds. So this is a couple of weeks later in my shed. Those are my cucumber plants. That's mainly flower seeds that I'm growing, some flowers. That is also some flowers that aren't that happy. And then I've got my courgette plants that are growing beautifully, and some French beans. Again, didn't grow brilliantly. I've got a couple of fairly strong plants which I am going to plant out. So this is the veg patch a couple of weeks later. I've already got lots of spinach and lettuce growing. I've had quite a bit of rain. So now I am just planting out my courgette plants that I grew from seed in the shed. Just dig a hole, and I'm using my makeshift homemade watering can, which is just a milk bottle with some holes in the lid. And then I'm planting out my courgette plants. and I'm giving them a good water now, and I'll water them again later on. This is a shot of my cucumber plants that I put where I originally had the carrot seeds. These are my French bean plants. I was just deciding where to plant them, and the courgettes, and the lettuce is all growing really well. So this is a shot about another week and a half later. On the right, on the far end, I've got sunflowers growing. Then I've got spring onions, carrots. At the back, I've got my courgettes. And I've got the French beans. And the space to the left, I'm leaving that free at the moment because I'm going to be growing some more lettuce and spinach so that I have got salad throughout the summer. And this is the rest of the garden, all of my flowers. So I've got some peonies, beautiful climbing roses that I'm really happy with. Lots of easy to look after perennials along this side. I love climbing plants, so I've got clematis and climbing roses that grow up between them, which are beautiful. I love those. Alliums along here, lots of those large daisies, and here is the veg patch again. So everything is growing really, really well, and I have got room to grow more. So thank you for joining me today. I hope I've inspired some of you to perhaps grow some plants and grow some vegetables in your garden, even if you've only got a small amount of space like me. See you in the next video. Bye.